So how old were you when you were flipping chicken eggs?
Uh, 10, 11, 12, that's when I started. And
Okay.
it went through until I went off to college. And then it slowly phased out because then I was like, hey, mom, dad, can you take care of all these chickens? And that didn't fly for too long. So, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Simple Money Guys podcast, where we make money simple for you. Today, we have a very special guest. This man needs no introduction at all. He has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and he's an absolute juggernaut in the personal finance world. Today, we have Nate O'Brien, and he shares some of his experience starting out as an entrepreneur and how he got on YouTube, and discusses where he sees his future taking him. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button on Apple or Spotify to stay up to date with all the most recent episodes of the Simple Money Guys podcast, and leave us a review with a question you want to have answered live in a future episode. So as always, sit back and enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited about today's episode. We have a very special guest. He's only 23 with over 1.2 million YouTube subscribers. He's well respected as a content creator and entrepreneur, and he's someone that I've looked up to in the personal finance space for a very long time. Please welcome Nate O'Brien. Nate, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're just so excited to talk to you. You're obviously huge into personal finance, and we're going to get into your story a little bit. But just for the audience, can you kind of tell us about yourself and how you grew up with money? Was it talked about in your household?
Sure, yeah. So just a quick rundown, yeah. Growing up wasn't really talked about very much in my household. My parents would save some of their money when they would make it, but they certainly didn't invest it. They didn't really, weren't into the stock market or anything. So luckily, I had a 7th grade project, and that's kind of we had to learn about the stock market then, and that's kind of when I got started.
Geez, 7th grade. I wish I would have learned in
7th grade's pretty early. Did you do a simulated stock market investing thing?
Yeah, and we had to research the stocks and then pick our favorite investments. And
Okay, yeah.
I don't know, maybe I was lucky with that class how I ended up in that. But.
So I did that, but in AP macroeconomics my senior year in high school.
Oh yeah.
And there was one kid who just found a cheat system to do penny stocks and break the simulator. So. But that's how that went.
I really wish though that they taught it more in school, because that was the only time that I really got exposed to money in all of school.
So how did you go about learning about money? If it wasn't taught in your household and it wasn't taught in school, where did you learn personal finance and money?
Yeah, so luckily being born in the late 90s, by the time I was able to read and write, it was already the mid 2000s. So we had the beautiful internet, and YouTube was started when I was 7 years old or something. So having that available, I just used a lot of Google, just a lot of blogs, and you can really learn anything these days.
So 7th grade, you took that class. It kind of kicked off your personal finance journey. Then you just started researching personal finance on YouTube and the internet?
Yeah, so I was definitely a weird kid. I did not have a lot of friends, and I was a bookworm, and I used to read a lot of nonfiction books. Right, read the Harry Potter series so many times and everything. And then eventually, I just switched over to investing books and other books that I just found to be so fascinating. And so I really like numbers, right? And so that's why the stock market and money in general was just something really easy for me to get into, because I like numbers, but I'm not a physics calculus type of guy. So the money was a little easier for me to associate with.
That's awesome. Yeah. So did your parents read a lot of books? Where does your love of books come from?
I really don't know. I just, everybody has different things that make them tick, right? Some people love music, some people love sports. And for me, I just love information. So it's just the way that I was born and the way that I am, I suppose.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't pick the things that you're drawn to. So
yeah.
And you continue to read a ton of books every single year?
I try. I go for a book a week. Sometimes it's difficult.
Wow.
Sometimes it's difficult to do that. The only way that I'm able to get close to that quota is through audiobooks.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would be too difficult to sit down and read a full book per week, especially if they're 800-page textbooks or something.
Sure.
It's going to be impossible.
Do you find you retain information as well with audiobooks versus actually reading?
Definitely not, because you definitely zone out.
Yeah.
If if you're working out or something and you're straining, it's going to be hard to retain all that information. But I still think it's better than doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm on a flight,
Because I guess the
something.
advantage is you're then reading in a sense at times you wouldn't read. You're getting
Mm-hmm.
exposure to that knowledge, and I guess it's just like the consumption of any media.
Have you tried any like book summary audio apps like Headway?
I have not.
Curious your
no.
thoughts. Okay.
I haven't. Should I?
I don't know. For me, it's kind of the same approach. So they summarize like full books into like 15, 20 minutes. And so you kind of get the SparkNotes version of it. It's definitely not as good as reading the full book, but you do kind of get the high level points. So I kind of have mixed feelings on it.
Yeah, it's probably good for some specific books. Like I've noticed a lot of the, say, like the self-help types of books. There's so much fluff in those that they were
Yes.
great when I started reading them when I was younger. But now it's like I can't read through like a Robert Kiyosaki book because it's just so much fluff.
Yeah.
And there's like 20 pages of good stuff, and then there's 200 pages of just other random crap. So maybe that's when that app would come in handy.
But I think we all started at some point reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It was all one of our favorite first books at some point. Yeah, so you started, early on, not much money talk. You had that class in 7th grade. Is it true that you grew up on a farm and you actually started your entrepreneur journey by selling eggs and meat to your neighbors? Is that true?
That was I didn't sell a ton of meat, but
Okay.
it was a lot of eggs.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so that's where it started. So my grandparents have like a tree nursery, right? So some greenhouses, and my grandfather was a landscaper. So that's how I got into it. And so we would sell a lot of his like bedding plants and vegetable plants and everything else. And we'd sell that down at the local farmers market. And then we just bundled the eggs in there. And then I started to get more and more chickens. And I think, one time I had well over 100 chickens, just selling the eggs to everybody that I could possibly find who would want to buy some eggs.
So how old were you when you were flipping chicken eggs?
10, 11, 12, that's when I started. And it went
Okay.
through. It went through until I went off to college, and then it slowly phased out because then I was like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, can you take care of all these chickens?" And that didn't fly for too long. So, yeah,
So you had a chicken egg monopoly going on in your neighborhood early on.
yeah. Well, yeah, I tried to definitely. It's a tough business though. Anything in agriculture, really tight margins.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that, like growing up doing that, like whether it's, selling eggs or I know you dabble into maple syrup maybe too. Like doing that at a young age will probably teach you way more than just traditional school or even household learning. So did you ever start any other businesses like selling eggs or anything at a young age?
I probably every business you could think of. I probably went through 100 different ones, and I think a lot of people go through it as well. Like when you get this entrepreneurial spirit, you'll just start a bunch of businesses. You'll work on them for a month, and then you move on to the next one, and you move on to the next one. You keep doing that, right? So yeah, everyone you could think of. I sold a lot of mealworms on eBay. I sold a lot of bumper stickers. I had a big bumper sticker business on eBay. All of the political campaigns, that was my favorite time to sell.
Oh, so smart.
2012, 2014, 2016 political campaigns.
What do
I
you
just
sell,
sold-
like T-shirts and bumper stickers? Or what?
The bumper stickers were my like specialty because I would just sell them for a few dollars a piece, and then I'd do buy two get one free. Everybody would want something free, so it'd all buy two, and I could just put a postage stamp on there, for 47 cents or 49 cents. So my shipping cost was like non-existent. So yeah,
Oh,
between all those
nice.
little business ventures and the firewood business and the lawn care business and everything else, that's how I paid for college. So
Well, going into your lawn care business, I know it was a significant one for you because it's one of the ones where you realized the importance of business ownership. Can you tell a little bit about the story of you had people mowing, or you were mowing lawns and then you injured yourself? You had people mowing lawns for you, and you understood the importance of kind of, I guess, having employees under you.
Yeah, because until I was almost done with high school, all of my business ventures, a lot of them were physically straining. I mean, it was a lot of manual labor. We had the firewood business with my brother, and so yeah, with the lawn care business, I ended up hurting myself, and that's when I realized it's like, wow, I suddenly like my income's gone. Like I need to figure this out. So I started hiring some of my friends, hired one of my other brothers, and then I was like, wow, okay, I'm I'm basically making a spread on them, and I'm sitting at home and I'm making money. And that was like the aha moment, right?
Yeah.
It was like, wow, you can scale and you can do these things. But that's also, yeah, when I realized that I need to use my brain instead of my body for making money, because, you know, if I was already getting injured at however old I was, 17 or something, then, you know, I couldn't imagine when I'm 47 how creaky my bones are going to be. I don't know.
What was the pitch to some of your friends to get them to mow for you?
It was pretty easy. You know, I was like, hey, you want to make $10 an hour? And yeah, sure, why not? You know, so
You keep 8, I keep 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
good.
sick.
That's good. So who inspired? It seems like you had such an entrepreneurial spirit at such an early age. Who inspired that? Was it your parents? I know you just mentioned your grandparents a little bit. Who was it that gave you this spirit?
I think it was probably my grandfather, because he worked at General Electric way back in like the 50s and the 60s. And then he quit that job. And he just started a landscaping company in like 1962. And for the past, I guess that's 60 years now, he's been running that landscaping business. He's kind of retired now. But just seeing like him, you know, could be any day of the week, and he'd say, you know what, I'm not going to work today. I'm just going to call it off today, and maybe I'll work like tomorrow or something. And seeing that flexibility in his schedule and how happy he was by not having to report to a boss. Like I saw that from age 2, 3, 4, right? And as soon as I noticed that, I was like, wow, I would love to do this. Because my parents had, you know, traditional jobs, and so they were kind of at the mercy of their bosses. And so just kind of seeing that difference was like, wow, I'd much rather, if I can pull it off, work for myself.
Yeah,
Sick.
you've done a pretty decent job so far, it seems like.
That's been working for now. We'll see.
Yeah.
So what made you get started in YouTube, and why finance?
So I was the right place, right time with that. I think that everybody's going to get lucky at some point in their life with business. And for me, I was watching YouTube, and I was trying to watch finance videos in 2016, and they did not exist. And some people wouldn't believe this now, because they're like, yeah, there's so many finance videos. They did not exist in 2016 on YouTube. And you could like go on YouTube and type in how to invest, and literally like irrelevant videos of like, you know, like giraffes or something would be showing up. I mean, there was nothing.
Wow.
And so
That's so surprising.
Yeah. And so it was one of those moments. It's like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. And you guys probably did this with TikTok, right? Where you're like, hey, like you had the same moment, right? Where you're like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. This platform's going to be big. Everybody's going to be watching this soon. And so right place, right time, you jumped in. And I did the same with YouTube in late 2016, early 2017. Just had to do it. It was too good of an opportunity not to.
Yeah, I think when John and I were on TikTok early on, there was only a few of us. There might have been like 5 or 10 finance people, and now there's like 100. It's wild.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds.
I
Yeah.
think when I got on, I saw Humphrey Yang was on talking about personal finance, and I was like, oh, this guy's sweet. Like, let me follow him. Like, I want to talk about personal finance as well. And then Ryan came in. I know Seth Godwin was on early as well, and it is pretty lucky, like right place, right timing. But I think like back then when YouTube, it almost seemed like in 2016 or 2017. I mean, to me, it felt like it was almost too late to start on YouTube because it was so saturated. But like you're saying, it was like there was nothing on investing or personal finance. There were plenty of prank videos and other types of videos on YouTube, but personal finance specifically was lacking. And I wanted to ask, how old were you when you started making videos, and when did you start seeing some real traction from your YouTube?
So when I started on YouTube, it was really like 2012, because I had a bunch of old like channels that I just messed around with. But when I took it seriously was the finance channel, and that was my New Year's resolution going into 2017. And so the first year, you know, I think I maybe had 5,000 subscribers after a full year. This is my freshman year of college. I was 18 years old, and I was spending at least 40 hours a week on it. I mean, I was putting out 3, 4, 5 videos a week. And there was not much traction, but it was enough for me to be like, wow, this is so cool, because I had, you know, 200 followers, 300 followers. Like, that's an auditorium of people.
Yeah,
It's crazy to think like how many followers you actually have. Like, they would fill up multiple stadiums, and it's wild to me that there's that many people that like know who you are, right? Isn't it crazy? It's weird.
It doesn't really feel real. Like, and it doesn't really feel like it means anything until you're walking outside somewhere and then someone, like I just last night, I went to pick up my car in Manhattan at like a parking garage, and the parking attendant was like, "Hey, big fan of your stuff." It's like, whoa,
Sick.
that's really, it's just like weird feeling. Because we're just talking to a camera and it doesn't feel like anything, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just going to ask, when you were making YouTube videos, obviously you were a freshman, sophomore. I can imagine spending 40 hours a week on that is a huge commitment. Was it was it lonely doing that? Were you just making videos by yourself? Did you have other people behind the scenes, or what did that look like?
So the funny thing is, I didn't tell anybody about this YouTube channel ever. Like, I let everybody find it on their own. So, and it was probably just me, like, not wanting my friends to make fun of me, like, just my way of dealing with it. Because, you know, a lot of people are worried about how people are going to view them if they start making videos and stuff. So I didn't tell anybody. I'd be like, hey, guys, I'm going off to study. I would tell my roommates I'm going to study. I'd disappear all day. I would go to a classroom and just make videos.
Wow.
This guy studies so much.
I
He
know,
works so
yeah.
hard. He's always studying, but we never see him in the library.
Yeah. And so I luckily somehow passed all my classes in college also because I neglected them so much. But yeah, I would say it could be lonely if I wasn't an introvert. I mean, but I love being alone, so it's easy.
So at what point did it like really pick up? So you said after 1 year it was 5,000. When did you kind of blow up, and what did you do after that with college?
I honestly didn't blow up for about 2 years because the first year I had 5,000 subscribers. By the end of the second year, I had 50,000 subscribers. And on the channel, I think I was only making, well, I shouldn't say only, but like I was making like a few $1,000s per month, maybe $5,000 per month. And then 2019 was when the channel really started to blow up, and I went from 50,000 to about 400,000 followers. And that's when the brand deal started rolling in. That's when the affiliate money started rolling in. So yeah, it really took 2 years of just pushing through. And I dropped out of college after I was at 5,000 subscribers. I'm like, this is it. This is going to be big. I know it.
Oh, wow.
And I dropped out, and you know, my parents weren't too happy. Everybody was like, what is this? What's going on? So luckily it worked out there. It took a little bit of a leap of faith though.
Yeah. What were you majoring in, actually? I'm curious.
Marketing.
Marketing,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, I went in for agriculture business. but
Okay.
Switched to marketing.
Did marketing help at all? Did it help, or like did you learn everything on your own? Like
I wouldn't say that it helped too much. I don't think I paid attention in class. So, and yeah.
You're a self-taught marketing guru. That's what it is.
Well, that was one of the things. I was like, hey, like I could listen to this professor read out of a textbook about Facebook ads, or I could just go do it on my own and figure it out, right? And I think that was more valuable.
100%. So what were some of the early struggles you had as a content creator, and maybe even today? Do you still have struggles?
I would say the first early struggle was just trying to get that growth and like get the first 1,000 subscribers is so difficult to push through that. And I think most people like probably, and I'm just making this statistic up, but I would say probably at least 80% of people will give up on it because like it's so hard to get the first couple thousand followers, especially on YouTube. Like TikTok, I'm not sure, it might be just as difficult, but YouTube is like you have to fight for every single subscriber for the first 1,000. After that though, the biggest problem was then scaling, like hiring people and like finding ways to, you know, not spend 200 hours a week working on it.
I wonder, like with creating YouTube channels, and it's basically you by yourself. You're making these videos in college, and you didn't tell anyone else about it. When you started making, growing as much as you did, you said scaling was a big problem. How hard was it for you to like give up control? Because I feel like I'm in that situation right now. Is like I'm doing everything myself, and I really need to like let go of some of these things I'm holding on to. How did you go about doing that?
So I kind of actually went full 360 on this concept because everybody says that you have to like scale and give up control, but actually for my personal YouTube channel, like for the Nate O'Brien YouTube channel, I do almost all that myself.
Really?
Yeah, and that's just because I kind of want to. I think it's fun, and I don't do too much of it. If you want to scale, you want to be putting out a video a day. Yeah, you do have to hire people. What was your question? Sorry.
Well, I guess, yeah, I thought you were hiring out a bunch of people, but you answered that you're still doing it all yourself, which is really impressive. I guess going into that, how do you have time for all your other business ventures? Because I know you're doing other things besides YouTube. How did you just create efficiencies to make your YouTube take up less time, like not 200 hours a week?
So all of my content that I make is evergreen content. And so if I'm making, 1 or 2 videos a month, I make those videos so that I know that they'll be relevant for years, right? And so I don't have to make as much content. So I probably make maybe 20 videos a year, but they're always like, they'll be just getting views for 3-4 years. Like I have videos from 2017 that are still getting, 1,000 views a day, right? I prefer that over news content that you put it out and, maybe you get 100,000 views in a day, but by day 4, you're getting like 0 views on it because it's not relevant anymore.
Right.
And so you always have to be constantly feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. And it's almost just like a high paying job. So I would rather just like set up the passive income type of thing. And I'm probably spending about 10 hours a week on my personal brand and then the rest on my other business ventures and everything.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool concept on videos. Have them last longer and kind of be timeless, so they're always getting viewed. So also, you talked about how you were thinking about at one point building more of a team, and you kind of, again, pivoted away from that. How big is your team currently, or is it pretty small as far as your content creation team?
So for my personal brand, it's mostly just me.
Okay.
And then I bring on independent contractors for certain things, like for certain videos. Like I just went out to San Francisco with my videographer, but he's not full-time employee. It's just we work together when I need some extra help on things. And I'll do that also for certain things. Like if I need someone to edit something really quick, I'll just, send it off. And I basically just have a big network of people in all these different categories that I can just send something off to if I need to. Outside of the personal brand, I have a business with my brother and we have a bunch of channels and everything. And so we hire a bunch of people on that. But we try to keep it as stress-free as possible, because I think my biggest nightmare would be having an office of like 50 people. I used to think that I wanted that and walk in like Dave Ramsey every day, not to fire shots at Dave, but like, have you seen his office in Tennessee? It's massive, and he has hundreds of people working for him, and that would just stress me out. So trying to keep it lean.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What do you usually spend most of your time on? You said you're about 10 hours a week on YouTube. You got these other businesses with your brother. What are you spending most of your time on right now, like day to day?
Right now, day to day is actually a lot of just investing. So I just launched a rolling fund with Ask Sebi. Sebastian
Oh,
Fung.
awesome. Yeah.
So that's what's been taking up a lot of my time. We haven't actually announced it. We're going to announce it tomorrow. I don't know when this podcast is coming out.
It'll be after that, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be after that.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead, give it a quick plug right now.
Well, yeah, no, that's where the majority of my time has been spent over the past couple of months, is just kind of putting this together and making the connections and making sure that it works.
That's very cool. I love that.
So if you had to go back and restart everything from scratch, would you do things differently?
I don't think so. I don't like to have regrets.
No regrets.
Because things could have gone very poorly, and I'm happy with where I am now. I don't know if I did something wildly different. I have no idea. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably be mowing lawns or something. So I'm happy with what I've done so far.
Yeah, I think that's an important life lesson anyway. Just kind of learn from the past. Don't dwell on it,
Yeah, I really don't like to have regrets.
It's funny because we had Zaid Admani Explains on a previous episode, and he talked about kind of taking calculated risks and maybe getting lucky in certain positions. So I wanted to ask you, your success throughout your entire career, how much of it do you think was just pure luck, and how much of it do you think was hard work and smart work?
So I don't think you have to be smart to make money, to make a lot of money. I think it's just kind of the dedication side of things, and just to so determined where you're I'm going to sacrifice other things to make sure that I take care of my financial future. In terms of hard work versus smart work, I definitely like to think that I focus a lot more on the smart work. I watched a lot of Gary Vee growing up, and he had some great points, but I think eventually I was like, you know what, I don't like this mentality of just like grind, work, and, you know, waste your 20, or sorry, I don't want to say waste, but just like grind through your 20s, never lift your head up. And I think you might end up going in the wrong direction if you never like take a step back and look around and be like, you know, this isn't where I want to be, or I'm working too hard instead of working smart. So that's why when you ask like where most of my time goes, honestly, a lot of it, it's so hard to categorize because it's me just walking around, pacing around, thinking, even just like going on a vacation and just like thinking at a pool somewhere. And then after like days of this, you're like, oh, I got it. And then you figure it out. And doing that, while it doesn't look like work, can end up making you so much more money or just success in other realms versus if you just were at home pumping out 200 videos. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. I love the mentality of not just, you know, just grinding through, like being smart about it. And it's funny because I laughed as soon as you mentioned Gary Vee. We were all in Houston this past week visiting Ryan, and Gary Vee came up. Have you seen any of the Gary Vee impression videos by any chance?
Oh, I love those.
Dude,
I love
hilarious.
those.
We spent like 30 minutes watching Gary Vee parody earlier. Like, content!
We just watched a compilation on YouTube in Ryan's living room.
That's value. You need to provide value.
The baby being born. Content.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, he's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you just going to be off the map or what?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, let's see. I'm 23 now. I think there will be a time where I do just disappear into the woods off the map, but I'm not ready for that yet. You know, I think I'm gonna keep working for a bit longer. But you know, I'm not really in a rush to like try to become a billionaire or something. Like I think a lot of that will just like success will just happen with time. And I don't know. Sometimes I look around and I just see people who are like, like they just work so much. And like they're trying to work towards something, but I don't think they're gonna be happy when they get there because it's just like a weird position that it's hard to put it into words actually. So I'm making sure that I'm balancing it and enjoying life while I'm building things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think when people, like you were saying, work just towards a monetary goal, you're never going to be satisfied because it's never enough. You're always going to want more. It's always going to be the next figure that you want to chase after versus chasing true happiness.
Yeah, and I think just to answer your question, in 5 years where I see myself, it would be great to just kind of move money around and just invest like full time. It would really be my goal. And I think once you get to a certain point, like say you know you're at like 30 or 40 million dollars or something, and then at that point, if you're making 10% per year on 30, that's like $3 million a year. If you're just so like just that would be my ideal thing. Not managing tons of people, but just moving money around, investing would be fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. And before you go off the map, you got to let us know so we don't just think you're dead or something. But
I don't think I'm going to tell anybody. It's just like, hey, I haven't seen Nate make a video in a couple of years. And then I'll slowly just like everyone will slowly forget about me. It won't, you know, because it's so there's so many people making content these days that if someone stops making content, you won't even notice. You'll just
that's fair.
Like they'll just slowly fade out of your memory.
That's a generational thing where just there's always something new stimulating.
Yeah.
But you'll have timeless videos, so they'll continue to always get views, even as you rode off into the sunset yourself.
Exactly.
Do you think if you are off the map, you think you're going to get bored at some point and want to just start making videos again or like new business ventures? Or do you think you'd be cool just chilling forever?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I'll certainly find out. But that's why I want to make sure that I take care of everything and I set myself up so that I, like, if I decide after going off the map for a while that I want to come back, that I don't have to go, you know, get a job somewhere or something.
Right.
Like, I'm set, you know, I want to be set. Or if I have medical problems or something, like, I want to make sure that I'm set.
So what does the ideal ride off into the sunset future look like? Like, what are some of your interests outside of personal finance? What does Nate O'Brien do outside of making YouTubes? What does he enjoy?
It's a lot of, you know, it's almost a form of just meditation, but just being in nature. And I don't have to be doing much. Like, I could sit on a bench, like a park bench, and sometimes I'll just sit there for hours and just sit there. And like, that sounds so weird. I don't know.
No,
like,
I mean, it makes.
But that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, just existing in the world.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Like, what's the most beautiful place you've ever traveled to?
Probably California. Or sorry. I love California, but probably Colorado, just up in the high Rockies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you been to Alaska yet?
I haven't. I'm gonna drive up and visit Daniel. Hopefully this summer. We'll see.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be really fun.
It was probably one of like my most favorite trips going to visit Daniel. He's a great tour guide, so you'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to make it up there. Land is expensive up there, though. It's weird. You can't, like, I want to buy like 1,000 acres or something, and it's hard to find big plots of land in Alaska. I think most of it's just owned by the government. So, yeah.
So we tend to end these episodes with guests with a quick, simple money lightning round. We're going to just shoot off 3 questions your way. First answer off the top of your head, just give it to us straight. All right?
Okay. All right.
All right. So first off, what is the best and worst financial decision that you feel like you've made in your life?
The best financial decision, I got really lucky and I sold a lot of my crypto and I bought energy in like late December, early January this year. So I'm having a great year this year. I'm going to attribute that to luck and, but worst financial decision that I made, honestly, I can't. I did have some Terra network exposure there, so some Luna UST. A lot of people knew it kind of had some Ponzi like tendencies. Had some exposure there, but on the good side, sorry, this is not lightning. I'm like talking so much. Okay, never mind.
No, go ahead. This is your platform.
On the good side, I had a lot of Luna. And I de-risked because I was like, okay, my Luna's up a lot. Let me de-risk. I sold off a bunch, recuperated my cost basis because I knew that it was risky. So when I lost some of that Luna last week, I didn't even really care too much because I was like, oh, I already took out my cost basis. Like I was just letting that run. So
yeah, Nate, I like the way you think. I got into energy and commodities early in this year as well. So
yeah,
it's paid off a little bit.
It's definitely interesting. Like watching the rest of the markets crash. You're like, huh. This is yeah.
It's funny because on your Twitter you say like, hey, like I really love commodity stocks like coming up into the new year, and when you like proved yourself right, you're like, okay, my one recommendation is just to do the opposite of what the general public thinks, because
seriously though,
that ends up like working out to your benefit. I love that.
Yeah, people are buying commodities now, so I'm getting ready to sell. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much so. Yep.
The next question in the lightning round: what's your favorite book you've read recently?
Recently, in the past like 6 months, I read a book. It's called Asset Protection, and it was really good. Like it was just so fascinating. I've been getting deep into textbooks and like really like informational books.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know you also recently read Token Economy. I wanna pick that up as well.
Definitely read that book. Definitely. Great for just like a great exposure to the crypto like tokenization of the world.
No fluff in the self-help or anything like that. So I think I would enjoy those as well. So
yeah.
And this isn't part of the lightning round, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on crypto. Are you super bullish? You think there's a possibility it could go to zero? Just while we have you here.
I think it's going to play out exactly how the dot-com bubble played out. You know, you're going to have this crazy hype, these insane ideas, like some great concepts, and it's going to come up. The bubble's going to pop. I think it's going to keep deflating. And then you're going to have this, like people are going to forget about it. And then there's going to be new utilization, right? And that's when you're going to see crypto. That's when you're going to see like augmented reality, like virtual reality. All that's going to come back in a few years, and it's going to be amazing. So that's why, like, I think at some point between now and then like 2 years from now, it's going to be like buying, Amazon or Netflix or something else in like 2002, 2003.
So the bubble's crashing now. Is that what you think?
Here's the thing. People don't realize that they were that the bubble has crashed until they look back retrospectively, like, wow, it's down, like, and they look at the charts. So a lot of people think it's like crypto's going to pop back immediately. I think as long as rates are high, that's not going to happen. As long as the Fed is taking money out of the system, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a lot of comparisons to, like you were saying, the dot-com bubble, especially with NFT. Everyone was creating an NFT just like back then. Everyone was creating a website, And I love that you mentioned augmented reality and virtual reality, because these two are probably sick of me always talking about it, but I'm all in on augmented reality in the future. So
what are you buying? Like, what's your do you have any companies that you're really excited about?
For me, I think Apple's going to just end up being the winner. There's a lot of murmurs about them doing the augmented reality Apple glasses, and it tends to be, I'm sure other people will come out first. I actually work in medical devices, so I've seen a couple of other companies put out medical device products. And right now, the main limitations are you don't get the full field of view, so you get like a small window within a set of glasses. And I think that's something that Apple will realize is not going to be commercially successful, and they're going to find a solution to that. And I think they're going to put their little Apple twist on it. So unfortunately, it's not like a small player that I think is going to ends up becoming huge. I think it's going to be one of the big guys that are already in the field. And I think VR is going to probably be Facebook with Oculus.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Have you been playing the VR AR?
I haven't. I know there's like View 6 and there's some smaller ones like Mira. I haven't been playing them though. I think Facebook, like Zuckerberg, is so like he got burned by Apple so hard that now he's going to go all in and just trying to win the hardware game. So I think Oculus is going to do really well. But yeah.
Sick. Sorry to derail us a little bit. So
back to the lightning round now.
The final question is, what's your best piece of financial advice for someone just getting started in personal finance?
Wow. Okay. I mean, the best piece of advice, I suppose, is like you don't need to bring on debt. Like I see a lot of people, they're like, oh, you need to bring on debt, and there's good debt and bad debt, which I understand. But I think a lot of people are going to get burned too, like the people who are just bringing on tons of debt, whether it's for real estate or like they're doing Airbnb arbitrage or something. Like I don't really have debt. I don't have much debt, and I don't want to sound like a Dave Ramsey guy, but it feels great. Like it feels amazing. Like I don't owe anybody anything. If I want to go buy a car, I buy it in cash. If I want to go buy a house, I probably end up buying it in cash. Maybe that's just a personal preference, but I sleep really well at night.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So just don't over leverage yourself.
Yeah, there is something about just being in debt. That's just, you're always stressed. You're always stressed to make that next payment.
Even if you can't afford it, just be careful. And that especially goes with real estate. Like, like let's say you have $40,000 of debt like monthly that you have to service because you have a bunch of properties. It's going great, but if the economy goes down into the toilet like it did in like 2007 with the housing market, you could have some serious problems on your hands. So just don't over leverage.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, Nate, where can people find more about you?
Oh, I guess YouTube, or if they have any specific questions, maybe just shoot me a message on Instagram. It's just my name. It's Nate O'Brien with one extra N on the end of my name.
Nate, thank you so much for all the great info. I think, guys, that about wraps us up. As always, we are the Simple Money Guys, making money simple for you. Nate, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode.
It was
so
fun.
An absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And for everyone listening, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.